If you thought our last video on Sean Diddy Combs was a wild ride, you need to strap yourselves in for this one. We're back with another chapter, and this time, he is singing the blues about his life behind bars. His lawyers are making some bombshell claims about his prison conditions in a fresh, desperate attempt to get him out on bail before his sentencing. We're talking about expired food, lockdowns, and yes, you heard me right, maggots. But did it work? We got the latest court filings and the judge's final epic response. This is a juicy one. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Extra Hot Topic, the only place where we serve the tea piping hot. I'm your host, and today we are following up on the never-ending saga of Sean Diddy Combs. So in our last episode, we talked about his ex Gina Huyn writing a letter to the judge asking for his release. Well, spoiler alert, that didn't work. So now Team Diddy is trying a new tactic, the "my prison is a nightmare" defense. His lawyer, Mark Agnefello, has petitioned the judge, claiming the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is so inhumane that it justifies letting a convicted felon out on bail. We're going to break down their shocking claims, including photos of maggot-infested food, and then we'll get to the grand finale, the judge's ultimate decision on Diddy's $50 million bail proposal. Is the music mogul truly suffering, or is this just another performance? Let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into this fresh appeal for bail. Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnefello, is not playing around. He wrote what he calls a brief letter to Judge Arun Subramanian, and folks, this letter is anything but brief on the drama. He paints a picture of the Metropolitan Detention Center, or MDC Brooklyn, as this dungeon of despair. And the headlining act of this horror show? The food. I have the quote from the filing right here, and I need to read it to you because it is just wow. He alleges MDC routinely serves food that is expired or infested with maggots. Maggots! He's claiming Diddy is being served food with live squirming maggots in it. He even apparently referenced a picture in the filing. His lawyer writes, the maggot-infested food captured in that photo is unfortunately not an uncommon experience. I mean, come on! I don't care who you are, nobody deserves that. That's a serious health code violation, like on a biblical plague level. A 5-star meal, this is not. This is a no-star meal. This is a call to health department immediately meal. Now, it's worth noting that MDC Brooklyn has a bit of a reputation. It's the same facility that has housed other, let's call them high-profile inmates like R. Kelly and the late Ghislaine Maxwell. So it's basically the infamous Alumni Association of Federal Prisons. It's not known for being the Ritz-Carlton, that's for sure. The lawyer is arguing that these conditions, along with frequent lockdowns, amount to exceptional circumstances that should make the judge reconsider bail. But this is where it gets interesting. This is a legal strategy. They are trying to find any loophole, any reason to get him out before his October 3rd sentencing. Let's not forget he was found guilty. A jury of his peers listened to the evidence and convicted him on 2 counts. He's facing up to 20 years. The lawyer, Agnefello, even called the judge's previous denial of bail unfair. He wrote, and get a load of this, hell-bent on punishing Combs for being a user of prostitution services in a more draconian manner than anyone in U.S. history, the government continues to target him. Anyone in U.S. history? A little dramatic, don't you think? He's trying to frame Diddy as this historic martyr. He goes on to say Diddy is not a flight risk or a danger to others, claiming he has shown nothing but respect for the criminal justice system. I mean, what else is he supposed to do? Start a riot? Of course he's being respectful. His freedom is on the line. And then comes the classic emotional appeal. The lawyer told Variety that Diddy's time in prison has been difficult and that he's spending a lot of time thinking. Oh, he's thinking now? He's had a lot of time to think. Maybe should have done some of that thinking before. Well, you know, he says he misses his kids. He's learned a lot. What he wants to do when he gets out is to start small. He wants to spend time with his children and get reacquainted with his own life. It's a sob story designed to pull at the heartstrings. But here's the thing, the judge has already heard all of this, so this whole maggot-infested food play, this whole sob story. How did it go over with Judge Subramanian? Well, that brings us to the second article, the grand finale of this bail attempt. It was a big, fat denied. The judge looked at their $50 million bond proposal, their complaints about the food, their promises of good behavior, and said nope. And his reasoning is a masterclass in legal smackdowns. The judge stated that Combs had failed to prove that he did not pose a risk of flight or danger. But this is the killer line. The judge wrote that Diddy's arguments might have traction in a case that didn't involve evidence of violence, coercion, or subjugation in connection with the acts of prostitution at issue. But the record here contains evidence of all three. Boom! Mic drop from the judge. He's essentially saying, don't come in here complaining about your lunch when the jury I sat with heard evidence of you being violent and coercive. The judge isn't looking at this in a vacuum. He's remembering the testimony, the evidence of freak-offs and hotel nights where prosecutors claimed he manipulated and forced women into sexual acts. The defense tried to argue that Diddy was basically the only person in jail for hiring adult male escorts for him and his girlfriend. They're trying to make it sound like a simple victimless crime. But the judge shot that down completely. He's saying the way he did it, the violence and coercion involved, is what makes this case different. It's not just about what he did, it's about how he did it. They put together this massive proposal of $50 million bond, house arrest at his Miami mansion, electronic monitoring, private security guards, basically creating a gilded cage for him. They threw everything at the wall and the judge said, no, thank you. The prosecution's stance was firm. They wrote that his extensive history of violence and his continued attempt to minimize his recent violent conduct demonstrates his dangerousness. And clearly the judge agreed. He's staying put in MDC Brooklyn, maggots or no maggots, until his sentencing in October. And just to add one more layer of insanity to this whole story, there were reports that President Trump was seriously considering pardoning Combs. Can you imagine? The White House wouldn't confirm or deny it, but what a plot twist that would be. From maggots to a presidential pardon. This story literally has everything. So there you have it. Team Diddy's latest Hail Mary pass was intercepted by the judge. No bail. He's staying right where he is. It's a fascinating look at the legal system. On one hand, the claims about the prison conditions are genuinely concerning if true. On the other hand, the judge's ruling makes it clear that the severity and violent nature of the conviction outweigh those complaints. What do you guys think about all this? Do you believe the claims about the prison? And do you think those conditions should be enough to grant someone like Diddy bail? Or is the judge right to keep him locked up based on his crimes? This is a really complex issue, and I'm dying to know your take on it. Let's get a real discussion going in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please smash that thumbs up button. It really helps us out. Make sure you are subscribed to Extra Hot Topic and you've hit that notification bell, because you know we will be following this case all the way to sentencing. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.